Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching Truth Talks TV because the truth is sexy and getting naked is fun. I'm your host, Katarina Ilic, along with my guest here today, Amir Zoghi. Thank you so much for joining me, Amir.
Thank you, Katarina. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
So, Amir, you are an international speaker in the area of human potential and intuition, which I love this topic. Can you just give us a quick, what are some of the things? I know you've got really cool seminars that you do and a lot of amazing things that you have going on. So what are some of the things that you are involved with?
We've just recently this year put a lot of my seminars online, so people can actually reach me online, which means I don't travel as much because I was on stage traveling every week in a different city doing the events.
Oh, wow.
So I do a lot of my events online now. The Intuitive Warrior event is online, and I've got a program called the WTF Experience, which is online. Also involved with a webisode series, which is an online, what we like to call an actuality TV, because it's not scripted.
Right.
And that's a show that we bring out online as well. It's called The Naked Truth, and that's out twice a week. So we have people who watch that from all around the world, it's really about. We say it's raw, it's real, it's the truth. So it's just really raw. It's very real, and it's all about just the truth. Bringing our awareness to the truth, bringing light on the truth.
Yes, and that's exactly how I came across you with this mutual friend, Oren, and I started watching some of your episodes, and then there was that one where you, I think, decided to change the name of it to The Naked Truth, and I'm like,
Yes.
oh, I need to have him on the show. It's amazing. What do you see as the naked truth, other than in the context of just show? It's obviously just being real, a true what's really happening in your business and the lives. But what do you see in terms of people and their daily lives? What is the naked truth? How do we get to it?
The naked truth is about a level of authenticity. It's about a level of rawness. So it's when we do that show, a lot of people see themselves in me or in some of the team members, and there's just so much going on within our office here, and in our seminars and workshops, and there's continual things that are happening. So it's just about bringing a rawness into people's lives. I think that the greatest advice that's ever given in this world is the advice that's probably least taken, and that advice is to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So many times people in our whether it's parents or we give the advice to our children, we say just be yourself, but it's probably the least advice that's ever taken, because most people don't know how to be themselves, and so this show is about being yourself, and also about knowing yourself, because if you know who you are, you have more likeliness to actually be comfortable in being who you are.
Mm-hmm. And that's, it's huge, right? Like you said, we hear it all the time, I think when we're growing up, be yourself. Oh, just be yourself. Go to that interview and be yourself, or go on that date and be yourself. But yeah, so many of us, I think we don't even know. I think I'm still, learning how to truly be myself. What is a way that we can really tap? Because I think, of course, it's so much conditioning, so much pressure from all the different, like you said, parents or society, so many different things that are trying to make us something that we're not. What is a good starting point with how we could start to really tap into what is being myself?
One thing is you've just pointed out, which is to stop comparing yourself with other people. Most of us are continuously comparing ourselves with our neighbors, with our friends, with who's on TV, who's in the magazines, and thinking, well, that's what life is meant to look like. We continuously look on Facebook and go, well, everyone seems to be happy, but everyone just posts the things they're happy about. Yeah. They just don't post the sadness part most of the time. So
right.
It's one-sided. So the first thing that I'd suggest is to stop comparing yourself, because you're meant to be who you are. I think that in this world that we are all part. If I give a metaphor, it's like we are all part of an orchestra, but everyone plays a different instrument. We're all playing one music. We're all part of one. As a collective, we're all connected, so we're all part of one music, but we're all playing a different instrument. And it's like, I played my violin, and I just started to watch you, and I go, wow, you're really good at playing your saxophone. I'm like, well, I should violin and play a saxophone because that's what I'm meant to be doing. But it's just because you are doing it so authentically, you're so in the flow, you just make
Yes.
it look good. You know, you make it look sexy, you make it look good. And I'm thinking, well, I want some of that. But really, it's about you inspiring me to then play my violin more
Mm.
in the flow and more, sexy is the word I use. So since that's what you were using before, I use the word sexy. So that's what it's around. So the number one thing is to stop comparing your life with someone else. The number two thing, which is I think is actually the number one thing,
Mm.
is to actually know who you are, and that's the truth component. It's because the more you realize who you are, the more comfortable you become in who you are. And most people always say, well, you need to love yourself more. You can only love someone else before you can't love someone else before you love yourself. That's always been spoken about.
Right.
And the thing is, when you realize who you are, you start to become more in love with yourself. It's not about looking at yourself in the mirror and going, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. Though that may be supportive for some people, but as you feel a more connection with who you are, what you're finding more connection with is love. So you actually start to become love. So you don't have to love. Love doesn't need to love itself. You actually feel so much love, and
Wow.
and then it's more about the impact you make with other people. Most
Yeah.
of the time, so many people are trying to bring love into other people's lives, and that's because they are trying to be loving so they can be loved. Because they don't feel loved, so then they're trying to be a loving person, which is actually not themselves. They're trying to be loving because if I'm being loving and I'm being all calm and all whatever spiritual, then people will love. But the thing is, you just focus more on yourself, and if you know the truth of who you are, you start to feel that love. Then you don't need to be loving. So in order for people to love you, then if you are being loving, it's only because that's who you are. And there's a difference. I
Mm.
always say there's a difference between knowing the truth and being the truth. The person who knows the truth can talk about it, can coach about it, can speak on stage about it, can describe it, but they can't live it. The person who's being the truth is the one who's can actually live what they feel.
Oh, that's amazing. And what you just said is almost like counterintuitive, right? Because we're told, to be loving, to give and to, it's almost like when you're telling people to like actually love themselves first or come from this place of, be with you, it's almost like counterintuitive because it's like then that's being selfish, but it's so not like because like you said, if you're
Absolutely.
loving if you're loving, in order to do it, then you're trying to get love back, and then that's actually selfish.
Absolutely. To actually bring your attention to yourself, and that's the only place you're going to find love or find the truth. You're not going to find love or truth in someone else because the love or truth that you find in someone else is only a version of that love. So bringing your attention to yourself, I don't think is actually selfish. It's actually selfless. And that's what happens when you find the expression of who you are. You become selfless. You
Right.
become more of an expression of yourself rather than becoming the self.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And what you said about comparing, and I just now actually while I was waiting to start this, I was thinking I'm constantly like just being aware of the things that are going on sort of in my mind and things like that, and the things that are kind of holding me back sometimes. And one of them, like even just now, is like, sometimes I feel like if I'm too deep of a person, then I'm not fun enough. And if I'm too fun, then I'm not deep enough. And those are the things that you're saying. It's like you were comparing, and we're not allowing ourselves to just kind of be the full spectrum of who we are
Yeah.
in all of the different sort of expressions of it, whatever it is. But it's almost like, yeah, I could see, oh, that person's so fun and just like light and whatever. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm too this,
Yeah.
like how do we even just stop? Just stop all that?
Well, I think presence has played such a big role in being yourself. I think that when a person or an individual has the willingness to bring their attention more into the present moment, there's a magic that happens in the present moment, and suddenly there's this force field kind of feeling that you feel around yourself, and you feel that suddenly everything is okay, even if it seems that it's not, and there's this sense of happiness or joyfulness for no reason, and in that forcefulness, moment, you give yourself permission to be yourself. So I think one of the greatest practices that we can practice is to continuously bring our awareness into this present moment. And the way we stay in the present moment, which is it's part of that advice that I was talking to you about. People, the advice that most people give is just be yourself, and then there's something else they always say afterwards, and they say be yourself and just do what you love. That's how an individual can be more of themselves. When you're not doing what you love to do, it's very difficult to be yourself. You're always pretending to be happy, you're always pretending to be motivated, or you're trying to force yourself to be motivated. And even if you are motivated, the motivation is not real. It's not inspiration. You're not inspired. You're motivated, and they're very different things. And motivation comes from external forces. Inspiration comes from internal forces. So that's a very key part, and that is how someone maintains presence. So many people go and do long meditation camps and all that kind of practice meditation all the time. But then once they finish meditating, they go into their life and they go and do what they need to do, not what they love to do, which is you're all driven from fear. Well, when you're coming from fear doesn't exist in the present moment. So then, you're being a version of fear, which is actually not who you are. And then you go, well, I'm trying to be myself. And it's difficult. You can't be yourself in fear because fear is not who you are. And you can't be yourself if you're coming from the past, or even if you're working towards the future. You can't be yourself because that's where you experience fear. You don't experience fear in this moment. You only experience fear in the past and future. That's why fear stands for false evidence appearing real, because the past and future is not real. The only thing that's real is this present moment. So one of the biggest ways of actually being yourself is actually by being here. And to stay in the moment, being here, it's about doing what you love to do, not what you need to do. Now, I understand people need to do things, but it's beginning to just do the things that you love to do. And that doesn't mean in relation to work, although we spend a lot of time in doing work or spending time in relationships and stuff, and that's a big part. But just doing what you love to do could start with, I love to have a latte at this coffee shop in the morning. So I'm going to make, it could be such a small thing. It starts with a small thing, and it's the small things that leads to a grand thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think that is something that even when I hear that, do what you love, it means you almost feel like you need to just drop everything, sort of rational, and just only do the things that you love. But that's a good point. Just do it and at least in the little things. And in this moment, I want to do this. I would love to do this. I would love to go dancing. I would love to have a latte. And then that continues that feeling, right, of that love feeling that continues throughout your entire life then.
Well, if you think about it, whenever you're doing what you love to do, time disappears. If you're making love with somebody, right? Okay, doing what you love to do, making love, we talked about, being sexy, time disappears. It just disappears. Well, that's what I tell my girlfriend anyway. I say, well, she says that was only 30 seconds. I said, well, no, that time disappeared, honey. It wasn't 30 seconds. It was actually 30 minutes. I'm just kidding around a little bit. But the point is, when you're doing what you love to do, time does disappear. So what does that actually say? It means that when you're doing what you love to do, you're actually in the moment. That's where time disappears. Right. So one of the things I always like to say is that love's essence is the present moment. You can only experience love in the present moment. And when you're doing what you love to do, you maintain the present moment. Now, some people may lose themselves in doing what they love to do because they make it about something else. So they love what they do, but then suddenly they make it about the money, or they make it about some future outcome, future result. But really, if anytime that I ever ask someone who I feel truly loves what they do, and I say, hey, what do you love what you do? They always say, I don't know, I just love it. I don't know. I just love it. So there's no reason. So what I'm saying is sometimes people lose themselves when they begin to do what they love to do. They love it. They're so energized. There's, time disappears. But then suddenly the eye kind of catches on the future and goes, oh, hang on, I can make good money out of this. Or hang on, I could be the next Tiger Woods. I could be the next, and they go into the future. They go back to comparing their lives with other people, and then you lose your flow. You lose your mojo. Like it. right there, it's gone. So it's an art to stay there. It's an art to stay in the now. It's an art to stay in doing what you love to do for the right reasons. And when I say the right reasons, I mean the true reasons. And if you're doing what you love to do for the true reasons, there's actually no reasons. You're
Right.
like, I just love doing it.
Yeah. Love needs no reason, right? Absolutely. But then when
Yeah.
when you're like, you have this business, right? So it's like, even the creation of that business is still done within doing everything, still focused on the moment and doing it in love, not sort of future tripping and jumping ahead, right? I mean, because sometimes people could think, okay, well, how am I going to, if I'm doing what I love, I need to make money off of it. So then you automatically think, okay, how am I going to make money off of it? Like, I need to support myself. I need to, all the things that'll take you out of that.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and Those are the things that take you out of it, and that's why in my organisation, Be Free People, we have a team here and we encourage them not to place their attention on any goals. We do the opposite. We encourage them not to plan, because when you're planning, the people say if you don't plan, you plan to fail. But the thing is, when you're actually saying to someone that, oh my God, you're in the flow, or oh my God, you're in the zone, what you're actually saying to someone is you're in the moment. And when someone is in the flow or in the moment, or in the zone, you're saying that the person is in the moment. And when someone's in that moment, everything becomes effortless. That's what the flow is. But the question that I always ask people when I'm speaking on stage is that if the flow is the moment, and if you want to be in the flow, how can you plan the moment?
Right.
You can't plan the moment.
Right.
It's this moment.
Right.
You can be in the moment. You can be open to the moment. You can by being in the moment, but you can't plan it. So one of the things that I encourage my team to have is my training with them is more about being in the moment and being expressions of who they are, being more authentic. It's not about this is the goal I want.
Yeah.
These guys are finding more joy in this moment. And when they're experiencing themselves in this moment, that's where the future is created from.
Yes.
But their attention is not in the future. Because the moment their attention goes in the future, like your attention can go there just to explore that this is where this is going. But then you go back into the moment. Because if you stay in the future, you've just lost your moments.
Right.
And if you lost your moments, you lost your momentum and you lost your mojo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And that's something that I felt like, gosh, planning and all this stuff just doesn't sit right with me, But then, of course, if you're looking at all this stuff that's online, or everybody, this person's saying this, you got to have this, you got to, and then it takes you out of that, what you feel within yourself, which is your intuition.
The thing is, we are not machines. Planning, structures. I fly airplanes, right? And when I fly airplanes, it's got all these planning and schedule and systems. But that's because I'm operating a machine. Creativity or intuition is not a machine. You can't plan for it.
Yeah.
So once you've manifested something or brought it into form, you can then have a system for it to continue its maintenance or whatever it is. So, but otherwise, for me, there's no planning in this company. We just go moment by moment. And don't get me wrong, I noticed that there is a plan unfolding through me. I noticed that there's a plan unfolding moment by moment, and I'm going, oh wow, this is what's happening.
Wow, yeah.
But I'm not trying to plan, and therefore I don't have this dilemma of I need to control this because I'm not planning. The control or this attachment to, well, this is the way we're going to go, begins to melt away, and then I'm experiencing. Hang on a second. I'm actually experiencing more freedom in this moment than we have so many expectations from our goals, and we want these goals to accomplish because we think if we have our goals, then we'll have a sense of freedom or sense of security. But as I let go of the goals and let go of the plan, let go of the control, I'm beginning to feel more and more sense of freedom and sense of love. And I'm like, well, hang on, I've got this love and freedom right now, this moment, but I used to chase it in the future, and it was like a carrot that was dangled in front of me, and I would never get it. It was just always in front of me.
Yeah. Wow. So then, when there's like somebody asks you, hey, do you want to do this on Saturday night? Like that would be a plan, right? But I mean, it's like in this moment, I can say, yes, I feel like I'll want to do that. But then when that moment comes, I might change my mind.
Well,
yeah.
That that can happen, and that's this present moment has infinite possibilities. And when I say infinite possibilities, most people confuse that with, oh, infinite possibilities means I can have this, right? But no, infinite possibilities means you can have it or you may not have it. Infinite possibilities means you could succeed, but it could also fail. You see? That's what infinite means. That when you're and in this moment we are infinite. In this moment there is infinite possibilities. So in this moment, if I feel to, like for example, I get invited to go. I go to America once a month, right? And if I feel to go once a month, then I'm going to book my flights once a month. But that comes from a feeling that I'm feeling in this moment.
Yeah.
So where most people have control and where it forms into a plan is they're thinking in this moment, they're disconnected from this moment, they're thinking about the future and arriving at a certain place, and then they plan and they go, well, if I go to America, maybe my business will grow and maybe we should make a plan to expand it. You see, that's the individual planning versus I'm sitting here going, I feel to go to America. That's the plan unfolding. You see, it's very different. One is a plan driven completely with reasons and agendas, which is fear. Only fear has reasons and agenda. And one is a plan that's unfolding out of love, which is moment by moment, that has no reasons and has no agendas because love has no agendas, no reasons.
Yes.
It's simple, really.
Right. Exactly. And because I was feeling too, like, sometimes we almost want to know what it is that our intuition or what it is that is a true inspiration or true intuition speaking for us to do or flowing through us because we want to guarantee that it's going to work out a certain way. But really when we're following our intuition and really in the flow, there really is no guarantee, right? It's just like you just said, you're not going there because you're thinking, oh, it's going to lead to this. You're just going there because you love it and you want to do it in this moment.
Absolutely. You're going there because there's full stop after because. There's nothing else after because.
Right.
When it's not your intuition or when you've attached a logical reason towards your intuition, then you're going, oh, I'm going there because, and your because is your plan or your goal or, your control or your attachment.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I mentioned before that I do this talk called The Intuitive Warrior. And the reason why it's called The Intuitive Warrior is because it's not difficult to hear your intuition. The difficulty is in following your intuition. And people need to, what I do is I share with people on how to find their warrior to be able to follow their intuition. And I'll tell you why it's so difficult to follow your intuition. And if I can share a story. I was once sitting in I'll tell you why before I tell you the story of the coffee shop. The reason why most people cannot follow their intuition is because their intuition doesn't require any logic. Zero. Absolutely no logic. So you feel some way because. And in the feeling, you have a knowing, but you don't know or you don't even know how you know this knowing. So let me give you an example. I'm sitting in a coffee shop here in Bondi Beach where I live, and there's two ladies behind me having a conversation, and I begin to eavesdrop. And the reason I'm beginning to eavesdrop is because one of them said, I heard the word intuition. But I kind of got in there and halfway in the story, and I begin to listen to what they're saying. And I hear one lady telling her, seemed to be her best friend, about this feeling that she had to pursue something. Now, I don't know what it was because I got in there halfway in the story, but I knew it was a big decision that she had to make. And her friend was sitting there listening and kind of playing devil's advocate going, are you sure you want to do this, honey? Are you sure? Do you know the ramifications if you make the wrong decision here? And her friend's sitting there going, yes, my intuition says to do it, and I just know I got to do it. Do you know what her friend turned around and said? Her friend turned around and goes, how do you know?
Oh,
how do you know that you have to do it? Do you know what she turned around and said? She goes, I don't know, but I just know. How many times in life have we said, I don't know, but I just know? And let's just see what we're actually saying here. If we dissect this, I don't know means I don't know any logical reason why to do this. I don't know any logical reason of how this is even possible. but I just know what you're saying.
Mm.
I just have a feeling that knows. You see, the feeling
Mm.
knows, but there's no logic there.
Right.
So and that's why it's so difficult for people to be able to actually follow their intuition. They can all hear it, but because they can't find logical reasons of how it's going to happen or why I should do it, then people can't follow it. And
Right.
that's why people find that warrior, because the warrior doesn't need logic. It doesn't need a logical reason to do actually follow their intuition. It follows it because it loves to.
I love that. Sometimes, we say, oh, women's intuition, right? So there's like this kind of stereotype that women have more of an intuition than men, but really everybody can hear their intuition.
Absolutely, everybody does. Sometimes I go and speak to corporations, and I'm sitting around a boardroom with a bunch of men sometimes, and I have to change the word intuition, because if I say the word intuition, the men turn around and go, "That's that woman's stuff." So I just change it. I go instinct, gut, like, a hunch.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a hunch in business? Richard Branson, Donald Trump, they attribute to their success in business because they followed a gut feel. You guys know what that means? And they will go, yeah, 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 yeah. They all know the gut feel, but they just have this association with being intuitive as being feminine,
Right.
and maybe that's because the intuition is a feminine energy. But the thing is, all human beings have both masculine and feminine energies,
Right.
just like all human beings have happiness and sadness, and they're just trying to hide the sadness and just promote the happiness. But we have both. It's what makes us human. It's what, if you bring the happiness and sadness together, it's when you experience love. If you bring the feminine and masculine together, it's when you experience love. If you bring the positive and negative together, it's when you experience love. So everyone has that. So I don't care if you're male or female, everyone has a sense of intuition. And sometimes when I describe sports, because I'm a big sporting buff and I sometimes work with sporting and athletes and stuff, when I talk to those guys about intuition, I use the word instinct, and I say on the field you're using your instinct, and when you do follow your instinct, then you notice yourself falling into a zone. That's where the zone comes, and then they're like, yeah, they get it. But it's the same word, instinct, intuition, it's the same word.
Right.
And whenever the moment someone begins to express their feeling, in other words, they choose to follow the decision that's already made, they choose to follow the feeling, they notice themselves falling into a flow, and everything just starts to happen. And you're like, oh wow, I'm so glad I followed this feeling. And that's called creativity. When you allow the feeling to begin to come out of you, it's called creativity, and the creativity turns into the flow or turns into the zone. You're just like, and people watching you, they're like, oh my god, like they just make it look good. They make it look good. They make it look sexy, and they make it look easy.
Yeah.
That's like it's viewed.
Yeah. It's something that
Everyone,
and what?
so everyone does have intuition. That's
Yeah.
my.
Yeah. So it was something that I noticed with myself, because I consider myself, are there different levels? Because I sometimes say like I'm pretty intuitive, but are like different levels? Is it just like somebody has exercised it more, so they're more in tune with it, and some people just have it?
Yeah.
I mean, is that kind of,
Well,
are there more people that are more intuitive than others, or like I said, it's just more like I think some have just exercised it more.
Well, it is. It's like exercising. It's like a muscle. If you don't use it, you kind of lose it. So you got to use it. And some people seem more intuitive because they're actually using it. So a great story I once heard was about a chief, an American Indian chief, sitting around a campfire telling his grandchildren a camp story, a nighttime story, and he's telling them about these two wolves that are inside of him, and these two wolves are continuously fighting. And one wolf was fear, and the other wolf was love. So one was the heart, the other one was the head. One was the intuition, the other one was logic, if you like. And he says, and he's telling these children about these two wolves, and they are at each other all the time. And one of the children turns around and goes, Chief, which wolf wins? And he turns around and goes, the one I feed. And that's what it is. It's the one you act on. Most people can feel the intuition, but if you act on the logic rather than the intuition, then what you're feeding is the logic, and the logic becomes more strong, more dominant. So then next time you feel your intuition, the logic's like, that ain't possible. because I've got references of the past and I've got references of the future and what could happen. That's not possible. But the thing is, the intuition only knows possibilities. So there's this conflict happening. But if you have the ability to follow your intuition, your intuition then uses your head. It becomes the head. The thoughts become the tools.
Right.
You see? But if you're doing it the other way around, there's a conflict happening and they can't talk. So yes, some people seem more intuitively because some people use it more, and some people, it's not like everyone has the same level of intuition. It's just some people have too much pollution here. There's so much conversation happening, so much internal dialogue, which takes away it. You can't hear your intuition. There's just too much noise there. That's all.
Yes. And so one of the things I notice with myself is because I feel like I always have so many like different ideas and inspirations, right? It's like these inspirations, ooh, and then I just get overwhelmed because I'm like, oh my God, like do I want to pursue this idea? Do I want to pursue this idea? But then maybe the problem is that I'm just like out there then, and I'm in the future. But if I just take it back to the moment, then I'll always know what to act on in the moment.
Absolutely, you nailed it. The thing is, I get inspired with lots of ideas all the time, but some of the ideas are there to be parked. They're an idea for a parking lot. You park that idea, and whenever I have an inspiration, I notice the inspiration, and I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this, right? But I don't take action on it until the next inspiration says, okay, take action. And sometimes that's immediate. Sometimes that's 6 months later, 3 months later. And I noticed feeling comes and finds me. Love is not something you find. Love is something that finds you. And your intuition is the voice of love. So the intuition is not something you find, it finds you. And I wait until the next time I feel moved or feel inspired to do something about it. If I don't feel moved or inspired right now, then I'm not going to do something about it, because if I am doing something about it, then I'm doing it because I should, and should comes from fear or need. So I just chill out, live my life, and when I feel moved to act on it, then I'll act on it. And that's the thing. If I do feel moved to act on it and the feeling comes up, I gotta act on it. I gotta go. But if the feeling's not there, I'm just gonna be, just hanging out, humble man, just doing whatever I'm doing in this moment.
Right. And that's such a good point, because like if we have that sense or inspiration, we feel like we need to latch onto it or act on it right now, or else we're going to lose it. But like you said, if you don't actually feel the inspiration right now to act on it, the inspiration might have just been like oh, hey, like this might, you might like to do this or whatever. And then wait for the actual, or not wait. I mean, and this is the problem though, right? Because society makes us feel like, oh, if we don't act, if we don't, take action, we're being like lazy, and we're just not taking, control of the situation or whatever. Like,
well, when I hear things like that, I look at society and I see most people in society are not very happy. If they're successful, they're not happy. So why am I going to take advice from society?
Right.
I'd rather take advice from the feeling that I'm having right now in this moment, because that feeling is what gives me certainty. That feeling, when I feel that, I feel joyful, I feel inspired, I feel like I am buzzing, I feel like I'm alive. And most people in society cannot follow that feeling. Most people are pursuing the same aliveness in so many different things, but it's in right now in this moment. So society is just society. I say, it's like whatever. I've never followed society and what society does and found happiness. So that didn't work for me. So I kind of just started to follow myself and went against status quo. And then I was like, this is more like it. I'm liking this.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we would latch on to that inspiration and feel like we need to take action, if we do that sort of out of fear, needing to like make sure we don't lose it. But if you're
which
saying
is control, right?
Right, exactly. So if you're saying then just you kind of wait until you have the actual, like you might have the inspiration, but you don't have the action to take yet. So then you wait till actually have an inspiration to take action. But if you, like something that I've actually sometimes felt has happened to me, like I'll be like, oh, that would be so cool. I'd love to blah, blah, blah. And then but I don't feel to take the action right away. Then it's almost like I sometimes do lose it. So then it's like if you lose it, then maybe it just wasn't meant to then be then, I guess.
But you don't like it leaves you for that moment. It's like, I mean, I for me, it's like I never lose anything the only time I've lost something is when I've lost the moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like if you really are in the moment, like I said, it's like you have this force field around you, and everything's okay. And somehow you just feel that it's going to work out. Like and you know when that feeling came to you, inspired towards something, there's no attachment to actually even do that. So you just kind of like
Right.
chilled out and like, this is cool, and whenever the next feeling comes, and I've done this so many times, like this is the way I live my life. So I've just noticed whenever the feeling comes back around, and I'll act on it. Now, if the feeling said act now, then I'll act now. But if
Right.
it didn't say act now, well, then it's not time.
Right.
And as soon as it's time, I will act on it. But most of the times, it's immediate. Like it's like I feel inspired to do this, and then I feel to act on it right there, and I will act on it right there.
Right.
But sometimes it'll be like, this is what I want to do, and then how many times in your life have you had a feeling of your intuition come to you? And the moment you had this intuition come to you, this source of creativity, you started to feel to yourself, oh my God, what a great idea! I can't believe I never thought about it. This is amazing. And then you start to think about, okay, what do I need to do to make this happen? How is it going to happen? And then you notice another voice, because you've gone out of your intuition, and another voice kicks in and goes, you can't do that. Are you stupid? We're in a financial crisis now. What would people think of you? What if you get rejected? What if you fail? And then in that moment when you have that voice, you're like, I can't believe I actually thought it was possible a moment ago.
Yes.
You see?
And you just completely choked it out.
The feeling came to you, and then you went, rather than stay with the feeling and stay with the moment, you went up here, and then you were like, okay, let's make this possible. But it's like, just like how the feeling came to you, it will continue to come to you. You got to trust a little bit.
That's so good, because I totally see myself doing that for sure. Like I'll be like, I know that feeling of like that inspiration, that intuitive, that would be awesome. And then immediately I'm like, oh wait, so how would, wow.
Yeah.
Because you're again, it's just that feeling that you need to make it happen of your own sort of accord, and you need to do something, or else it's just not going to happen, But so you're saying
Absolutely.
just stay with that feeling, just kind of like marinate
go,
that feeling.
go back to the moment the feeling came.
Right.
If you think about the moment the feeling came, you didn't sit there and go and make the feeling come to you. You were probably just it's probably something you thought about a little while before, and you're probably just in the shower, and then boom, or you're riding your bike. It's not like you were sitting there and waiting for it to come. Like you were just living your life. You were in the moment riding your bicycle. You're in the moment in the shower, and then suddenly boom. You didn't make it come to you.
Right.
So what makes you think you're going to make the next part come to you?
Right.
It came to you. Well, you got to just let it come to you. You got to let it continuously unfold. That people get really excited and like, oh wow, this is, and then excitement, kind of can overwhelm you and take you into the future and go into doing. We're always looking to do. Yes. I wait for the feeling to come through me to do, Like when I feel to do, then it's not about what I'm doing, it's about who I'm being when I do that. And it's a very different experience, which is, again, the description of being in the flow. When you're in the flow, it's not about the doing, it's about who you're being when you're doing that.
So is this the key to freedom, though? Like the intuition, this, which we're talking about, right? This is it. Like, this is how.
This is it. It's right here. It's in this moment. It's right in our breath. It's right underneath us. It's right in our hands. But we keep thinking it's somewhere out there or somewhere back there. And the thing is, no one has ever become successful in finding a sense of freedom in somewhere out there. No one. People pretend they have, but we've always seen that pretending doesn't last for long. You can't keep the facade for too long. You get to know someone who's really successful, and then you're like, oh my God, they're sad too. And I thought they had it all together. And it's not. The one who's got it together is the one who's found who they are in this moment. That's the key. And then when you find who you are in this moment, then you begin to express who you are, and then this future gets created from this moment. But you're not trying to create the future. It's not about these goals. It's not about the future. But these amazing things just start happening. It's just magic. You become a magician.
And that's sexy. This is sexy. This is very sexy. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been so much fun. So where else? So you said Amir Zoghi is the main site for them to.
Yeah, Amir Zoghi. It's AmirZoghi.com.
Okay. All right. And
That's
that's where
everything is.
everything else. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Everything's there in one place. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Amir. Enjoy the rest of your
Thank you.
day.